Joined here with Coach Dave Paulsen. The upcoming season for George Mason basketball. Where's the excitement level at right now?
Well, I think the excitement level is high. I think we made some good strides last year, especially at the end of the year. We had some really good home wins over Davidson, over Richmond, against VCU, and we showed some progress. I think our guys played with a lot of energy at the end of the year. So I think we're at a good place. We're young. We're really, really young, 11 freshmen, sophomores, but with youth comes a lot of inexperience and mistakes, but also a lot of excitement and energy, and I've liked this group's energy level from day one.
So, Coach, when you look back at last season, where do you draw the mark and say we need to get better in this category, and that category?
Well, there's a lot of categories where we need to get a lot better. But the one area where I thought we really improved was like we really started competing and playing harder and did a lot better in that area. We need to get a lot better defensively. This team is young, it's inexperienced. Certainly you look at last year's stats, we got to shoot the ball better. But with youth and inexperience, we're probably not going to be a great shooting team. So we need to be a maniacally effective defensive team. So that's really been an area of emphasis for us. We have to get better defensively, guarding the ball, keeping good penetrating guards out of the paint. We lost some really good big rebounders, so we got to rebound the ball better. And then transition defense. And then offensively, we'll be up and down shooting the ball, but we just got to do a better job at taking care of the basketball, not turning it over. We've got a lot of young players, and turnovers were high today in practice as well.
Speaking of the offense, what is your style of offense, and how do these players here fit your style?
Well, you know what? I fit my style to our players. When I was at Bucknell, we used 3 or 4 different offenses in the 7 years I was there. So I think I've always been pretty flexible, trying to figure out what's our personnel, what do they do best, and structure a way to play. So we're going to be playing a little differently this year than I've ever played in terms of some of the things we do offensively. We'll see a lot of 4-guard lineups and try to really move the ball well, keep some good spacing for guys to penetrate. We've got a lot of in-between size guys who I think could be effective if they have some space driving the ball and then learning to play what we call advantage basketball.
When you wake up in April, what will be on your mind for you to say, this was a successful season?
That's a great question. I would say, in a more harder to quantify way, say, we were as good as we could have been. Well, what does that mean? That we kept improving every day, that we kept competing like we have, that we cut down on our mistakes. In terms of wins and losses, that's hard to quantify. But I think if we play up to our potential, we can be an upper division team in the Atlantic 10 and play in the postseason. And I think those would be challenging but realistic goals for our team.
With the season coming up, does it take a few games for you to get into coaching mode? Or is it right away you're just slapping the floor, yelling at your players and getting it done?
It doesn't take too long. And I think the practice build up to it, and we're going to have an open intra-squad scrimmage on Saturday. We have 2 other closed scrimmage against other Division I teams. So, our guys will get used to kind of like a game-like atmosphere. We'll film it, we'll stat it, all that kinds of things. And I'll get used to coaching the games. We'll use the immediate timeouts, try to execute plays out of a timeout, things like that as well.
Let's focus on the A10. Are there certain teams on the schedule that we have to beat them at home because playing them on the road is going to be impossible?
I don't think that that's true for anyone. I think, you'd like to think you win every game at home. So I think that's the first step. You say, okay, how, when you asked me earlier, we wake up in April, what's a successful year look like? Well, one realistic goal is win our home games. Make Eagle Bank Arena an intimidating place. Obviously we're going to need the fan support to help us with that. But for our guys to own the home games. And then, on the road, you can beat anyone on the road, but it's a little bit harder. You got to make your free throws. You got to keep the opponents off the foul line. You can't let them get their running game going. You got to take care of the basketball. All those things, we control. They're just harder when you play on the road.
Coach, lastly here, my question for any coach: do you have a favorite basketball movie?
Favorite basketball movie? I'll tell you what, that's a good question. I would have to say it'd be Hoosiers. You can't go wrong with Hoosiers.
Seems like the typical answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, Coach. Thanks.
Thank you.
And good luck this season.
Thank you.